Greetings. Are we activated? 2, 3, let's jam. All right, so I just think it's funny that it didn't even take a week for this T app to be revealed. It wasn't even like a real quality hack job. It was open source. And what does this have to do with women's dating prospects? There's 2 videos I watched on this issue, but the T thing blew up big. But the other one was something Sargon of Akkad did, where these women were complaining that she's like, well, I'm good looking, I'm cute, I'm walking along, my boobs are bouncing. Why aren't any guys coming up to me and asking me out? That's what I want to talk about today. Just kind of gonna do this as a little short video. Appreciate anybody subscribes. This is Freedom Phil. Like, subscribe, and hey, always turn up the video speed. Why? Because you watch videos faster. I find it really funny that did you never think there was going to be consequences for all the things in the last number of years? Like, for instance, did you really think that as like you made the dating environment over the last 15, 20 years, let's be honest, for years. I mean, it used to be you would go to work and maybe you'd ask, the secretaries out. And yes, that's not acceptable in the modern behavior, but it used to be fine. Guys used to be able to make a comment, like, hey, babe, nice ass, something like that. Oh my God, that's so good. You've made college these days where it's like guys are, because it used to be this land of hedonism, where you'd go and people would have a lot of fun. You'd get an education, hopefully, and, have a lot of hot, fun freedom sex. Now, the birth control options women have, plus the, abortion. Yeah. Honestly, the boomers, you really had a good time, didn't you? And then the Gen Xers and then the nags started showing up. The people that were all like, you can't have any fun. You remember when the left was the fun party, by the way? Did you guys remember that? You remember when the staunchy Republicans, the religious right, were the problem? Boy, times have changed, and the religious right are still boring. But God, we don't have club culture anymore, for the most part. Some places still have it, but like for the most part in the West, bar culture is pretty much dead. Just a little bit here and there. For a while there, gyms. Hey, you're working out, they're working out. And then you get these chicks that try to put a guy on blast. Like a guy's just working out, happens to look over at a woman wearing skin tight everything, skin colored too. Like things that are designed to go right up your butt crack. You can see your Godzilla sized camel toe, I'm just saying. And then you have oh my God, all these guys looking at me. Yeah, because you basically look like you're half naked, honey. I mean, what the fuck? And then we get into the part where it's like, with the colleges and the false accusations that happened against a lot of men until those colleges started getting righteously sued into the ground. Where people were like, well, why would I want to go to this place when basically they either promote that they hate me because of the color of my skin, or I'm male and I'm bad because I'm male. And then you see the college enrollment just plummet. And people start looking at the trades and they're like, hey, there's a steady job there. You've made a toxic environment for these young men coming into the world. And then you ladies, the ladies that are actually quality. It's like kind of like when I was watching Asmongold review that Sargon video. Can we just be honest about this? Ladies, when you say no men are coming up and hitting on you, have you not observed what's happened? And even more, no guys that you really want that are quality are hitting on you. I know, scary thought, right? Scary. Because that's the thing, you got to think about it from the guy's perspective. These days, the way, this T app is a great example. By the way, when they cracked that T app, oh my God, that was so funny. It was so funny because it was all the women you would expect to have their little nagging Kabbalah witches, a bunch of gargoyles, ugly women. And by the way, ladies, this is the problem. You can get with Chad for 15 minutes to an hour. He'll give you that much of his time. And he won't text you back. He won't care, because unless you're that top level woman that he's really thinking of, like, he may not even settle at all. If you got all these women that are basically, I'm sorry to say this, but you are a human equivalent to Chad and Tyrone Maximus, the Thundercock brothers. You are a human version of a fleshlight. That's the truth. And then you're surprised, like he might have been drunk and you might have been available. And then you try to put these people on blast. Oh my God, he's addicted. He did that. Try to ruin these people's lives. And it didn't even take a week for that app to get basically revealed of what was going on and who it was. There's a bunch of gargoyles, you know? God, it's so funny. But then we come back to the whole thing where women are like, well, why won't guys ask us out anymore? It must be great to live in such a wonderful, fantastic world where you think there's never any outcome for the things that happen. And by the way, I'm not saying all women did this, but I will say, I don't remember a lot of women coming back and being like, no, we need to stop this. We need to stop this before all the men basically decide they don't need to work. They don't need to do this. They don't need to deal with anything. They can just go out and, you know, and they can work probably 10% of what they normally would work and be perfectly happy. They get their little house. They pay their bills. They work maybe 2-3 months of the year. Maybe it's even in a job they like they work at like a resort. You know, maybe there's a ski bum, and then maybe they van life it during the summer. Maybe they're a tech bro and they only work as much as they have to. They do contracts. Yeah, all the real great productive aspects of men mostly come to make women happy. Most of the things that we're doing for society are for make women happy and then eventually our children and hopefully a long-term life. But when you have done wave after wave after wave of pesticides and then have the nerve to ask, where are the butterflies and the honeybees? You killed them off. And the ones that are still surviving, they're going somewhere else. And that's where it comes back to, yes, ladies, I understand. It's harder and harder for Mr. Right to want to walk up to you and risk getting drugged through social. Like you ask a girl out, the cruelty is one thing. I mean, that's fine. That it's not really fine, but still, it's expected. But the idea that some guy just asked you out on a date and then you make a video and act like, oh, he's creepy guy, and then he's got that stigma attached to him. Why the fuck would anybody ever want to deal with that? You're not worth it. And so inevitably, what guys do you have left to choose from? The men, non-quality men that have nothing to lose. What do you mean? If this guy, just like I've said about marriage before, marriage is good for losers. In the modern age, if you've got nothing going on and you got nothing to lose, well, you do lose your potential and potentially a lot of your freedom of the future. But if you got nothing to lose, you got everything to gain by taking that risk. So, your guy fresh out of prison, or some thug who's already doing illegal shit to begin with. And by the way, these women will probably, they'll get wetter for that thug. He like grabs your hair, fucking does this, smacks you on the ass. Oh, you're probably into that, right? And he doesn't give a shit about you, about anything. And that's the funniest fucking part about it. That's what you have left to select from. And all the good guys, it probably would have been long-term good fathers, good husbands, work hard, work themselves into an early grave. They're like, just like the remaining bees and butterflies, they're like, we're going to the national park where we're not being killed off by waves of pesticides, or AKA feminism. We're going to the place that actually works. So that's where you see a lot of guys that are equality going overseas. They're like, they've made their money, they've invested, and they're going to go somewhere else. But the solution to this, as I said in the longer version earlier, is, ladies, you wanted equality. You wanted a world where, women are making their choices, and you got that. So now what you have to do, because guys don't want to play this weird game where, did I do something wrong, do this, or am I going to have my career, my life ruined? No. You need to start going. If you have a guy that you're actually interested in, you just need to go up to him and say, hey, you have to ask guys out. I'm sorry. And I know you women are fucking afraid of that shit. What if he rejects me? It must be crippling for you guys. I mean, guys, being a man is basically, there's a lot of disappointments throughout life. You just get used to that. And you're kind of conditioned from a young age You know, like, nobody cares about your suffering, son. Okay, dad. As we're with girls, anything from a lady, you know, it's ladies in the modern climate that you've decided you wanted to make to this world. You need to go up to the guys and say, hey, I mean, you're interested. You want to make a thing? But I know it's always on the guy to go do it. But if guys see an environment where literally it's not, the rejection is little if nothing. That doesn't matter. It's the idea that someone will try to publicly smear you because you just asked them out on a date. And by the way, as a guy that's an ogre, I'm not even going to fucking bother. I'm just going to be like, you guys can do as you do, have fun. I'll be going my own way. I will have no fucking problems. I mean, I worked way too hard to have a paid off house, the whole remodel, some money in the bank. I'm not fucking that up by getting with anybody. Yeah, and they're like, well, but what about, you know, no, what about isn't? You determined in this world for a lot of guys that you never gave a shit about them to begin with. And so those guys learn to care about themselves. Oh, wild thought there. So, you know, in a world where like divorce could literally like say, I think this is kind of the crazy thing about it. I understand whatever assets that the two of you build together, I understand. And by the way, I'm talking really build. Like if all you did was 20% of the work, honey, and he's doing 80%, let's cut the bullshit. He did most of the work. He doesn't deserve to lose his house and all this other crap. But if you come in later, after he's done the hero's journey, and then you're expecting to take like half his house, part of his retirement, and everything else you can get, and meanwhile, you and your cackling witch ass, you know, your little coven of friends sitting there cackling about it. Why would any regular thinking man ever sign on to that? So like I said, in the future, if you see quality guys, you're just going to have to ask them out, because a lot of guys are just going to be like, nope. And you're going to have to get used to this world where there's a lot of you, thanks to some of your sisters, you know, those gargoyles over on that T app, because of a bunch of miserable, pissed off chicks that got used as human fleshlights by Chad and Tyrone, like Grandmaster Chad and Tyronius Maximus, the Thundercock brothers. And they're bitter. You've done screwed up everything for the rest of us. And it didn't just happen yesterday. You have to go back and look at all the 80s rah-rah feminism. At least they could party in the 80s. And then the 90s, people could party in the 90s. In the early 2000s, people still knew how to party. But you have ruined that culture. You've ruined college culture. You have literally ruined pretty much everything normal about the world, to the point where guys are willing to go overseas to have a normal marriage. You got what you wished for. You wanted men that were less aggressive, not so much in your face. You got what you wished for. But it doesn't mean there wasn't a cost. And if you say chivalry's dead, well, just understand, you killed it. So now it's up to you, ladies. If you see guys that you like, you're going to have to ask them out. And if that's a bridge too far, well, just enjoy your cats and dildos. Just saying. Anyways, just a quick recording. Anybody showed up, anybody subscribed, I appreciate it. Whoever did the like, thank you. And yeah, peace.